Okay, these are the second part of the notes for the quadratic transformations. So we talked about translations, which would be adding and subtracting to the equation. If it's in grouped with x, we move left and right. If it's just tacked on to the end or the front, it moves us up and down. But now we're going to talk about reflections. So this is reflections in the x-axis. Okay, it puts a negative out in front. If there's parentheses, it's in front of the parentheses. If there's no parentheses, it's just in front of the x squared. And it's just going to flip us over the x-axis. Okay, so we say it's a reflection in the x-axis. And so our graph no longer opens up, it opens down, and the vertex is now the highest point instead of the lowest point. So if we go to the next page, number 3, it wants us to describe the transformations. So this has the negative out front, so I have a reflection in the x-axis. And you can, since we don't do the reflection in the y-axis, if you just write reflection, I know. Just make sure on big ideas when you select the answer that you always say in the x-axis, not y-axis. We do not do that one, okay? Then the next part has this -4. Now that, or I'm sorry, +4. That was from the translations. It's grouped with x, and x is what goes left and right. Positive goes to the right, so we're going to actually do the opposite, and we go left. Remember, when it's grouped with x, we do the opposite thing. All right, now, there were those points I told you to memorize. Remember, the parent function is y equals x squared. So if I plug in 0 for x, it's 0 squared is 0, 1 squared is 1, 2 squared is 4, 3 squared is 9. Okay? Whenever you have something in front of your parentheses or in front of x squared, in front of the whole thing, we're going to multiply the y values by that. So in this case, that negative is really a -1. So I'm going to multiply all of these values by -1. So 0 stays 0. 1 becomes a -1, 4 becomes a -4, and 9 becomes a -9. All right, so these will be the way I plot things now. Okay, so let's go first. Let's plot our left 4. So I'm going to go left 4. My vertex is no longer at 0, 0. It went over 4 places. Remember, the vertex now we're going to say is our 0, 0 in our chart. And then the next point, I go left or right 1, and that minus means I go down 1. So, and we go right 1, down 1, and left 1, down 1. Okay, this says I go right 2, down 4 from that vertex right here. Right 2, down 4. You also go from that vertex left 2, down 4. And from that vertex, we go right 3, down 9, and left 3, down 9. I'm aware that's just slightly off the graph. That's okay. And there is my graph. All right, it wants us to state the vertex. Well, that vertex is -4, 0. If we go back and look at our equation up here, the x value is what's grouped with x, only we changed the sign. And the y value is whatever is added or subtracted to the equation. Since nothing was there, that's like adding 0. So that's why the y value is 0. Okay? So our vertex is -4, 0. Our domain still has the arrows on the ends going left and right. So it's all real numbers. -infinity to infinity is how we write that in interval notation. Though big ideas might just say all real numbers, we need to make sure that you know what is the interval notation, because that's what you'll see on the ACT and things. So range, how far down does this go? Well, it goes all the way down, keeps going, -infinity. It does have a top to it, and that is when, I don't know what I'm writing here, when y is 0. And it does land on 0, but doesn't go past it, so it gets a bracket. So that means y is less than or equal to 0. Okay, on the next page, we're going to do this, but move on to the next video for that. So, sorry, going back to this, you can go in your practice and do number 17, and then move on to the next video, and we'll talk about stretches and shrinks.